blog is called Crafting and Leading High Performance Teams. Here's Uroš Rosa and Jost Capito. Welcome on stage, gentlemen. That's the part where you applaud. Crazy. This is so good to have you all on stage. I don't even know where to start, so I'm just curious, like Jost, I just have to ask, if you have to explain to someone who is sane, who doesn't like motorsport, the concept of Paris-Dakar, in a truck, and a support truck, and a team of 4, including 2 drivers who do everything, on a limited budget, how do you explain that?
Yeah, first, good morning, everybody. And I have to say it's great to be here and coming in and seeing the bus and seeing the audience is absolutely fantastic. So it's a big honor for me to be here. So thank you very much for having me here today and tomorrow. Yeah, so I think the times changed. I still remember the days when we did it was in the 80s. So did it first time in 83, the Paris-Dakar, that was when it was still going through Africa, 14,000 kilometers, and that's 40 years ago now. Yeah, and then, you know, just were a team with 2 Unimogs, 4 people, and everybody had to do everything. And it was very much a family thing. It was my father, my brother, a friend of us who was a Mercedes mechanic, and me. And yeah, you have to do everything, driving, navigating, looking for food, doing the admin. Yeah, and being a mechanic as well.
Looking for food. How does that work when you're driving a truck through the desert? You're like, yeah, we'll stop there.
Always you had to some with you, but you know, in the evening you had to reach the camp, and there was Africa Tours who provided food. I think it was not like not very delicious, but they had a nice creme caramel that I enjoyed every night most, so I had to make sure to be there in the evening. Just the creme caramel pushed me for 3 weeks.
And I heard somewhere that you also did something like that on a motorbike, and budget was so limited that you had to sell the spare parts you were carrying to make it to the target.
Yeah, that was in 83 when
then.
When we ran a motorbike and 2 support vehicles, and the motorbike retired, and one of the support vehicles retired and took the bike back. So I decided to go on my own, but the major money my brother had in the other car, and he was gone. So I didn't have enough money even to pay the fuel for the left 2 weeks. But I had lots of BMW spare parts and tires with me, and there were some BMW drivers who needed parts, so I could fund and not getting stranded in the desert without having money for fuel.
When I heard that story, I was like, holy shit, this is nuts. And the second thing I thought, this is like the essence of the mindset of a startup founder. It seems impossible. You have absolutely no budget, and the target is somewhere there. Everyone in their right mind is going to say, dude, this will never work. And you just go like, yeah, but might as well. It'll be fine. How did you drive yourself every day to get back on that motorbike?
I think that was the first real lesson, isn't it? When we were a private team, and there were, even in the truck category, there were lots of manufacturers. And my father said, we're not going there to just finish. And you know, most go to the Dakar and say, we want to finish. He said, we're not going there to finish, we're going there to win. And that's the only reason why we are going there. And then you get the drive, and then you see when it starts and it kicks off, and it looks good, and you have to believe every day you will get there, you can do it. But when you're in, you're in. I think that's the same with the startup. When you're in, you're in. You have to push, and you have to believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, you have to make others believe in yourself, then you get the support, and then you can be successful.
Now, Uroš, I have to ask you something in this line. I mean, to exaggerate, at one point in time your company was basically making exhausts, like many other companies in the world as well. And I remember many years back, I loved configurating cars, and I used to work quite closely with Audi. And there was the option of speccing RS6s, and they had like a normal exhaust, a sports exhaust, and they had one single external supplier supporting them. Now, you have to understand, if you take a normal car and you just put a normal exhaust on it, an additional exhaust on it, you destroy your warranty. Nothing will work. Yet Akrapovič somehow ended up in the Audi stock configurator. Talk me through what it took to, we just heard you have to make others believe in you. What's the passage of making others believe in you so much that you suddenly become part of the standard Audi configurator?
Well, it was not just Audi, it was also Bentley, it was Lamborghini, were basically Volkswagen also, and with Jost we collaborated. You know what, I would say the same logic applies, like Jost said, in racing. You're not going there just to end, you're going there to win. And when we started the first projects for the cars, for the OEMs, we didn't start directly working for them, but the goal that I set to the team was we need to develop the best possible product on the biggest standards as it will be tomorrow in Audi, Lamborghini, Porsche, whichever configurator, with that in mind. And I still remember, it was a funny story. We went to a comparison test with for a BMW M5 on the BMW test ground, and they have two options to choose, which accessory will be on the M5. And we were there with our solution, and their internal development was there with their solution. And the engineers and the board members were making the tests and everything, and then at the end of the test, all was quiet. No comments from no one, nothing, zero. We just sit back in the test cars and went back to the meeting room, and everything was quiet. We were driving with the engineer who developed the competitive exhaust, me and a colleague of mine. We didn't even, were actually not even have the courage to ask anything. Quiet. And after 2 minutes drive, he said, "You are better. And we are the OEMs who developed the car, but you are better." And this is the only message. And then you can go, that was how the story was built. The same went with Ducati. Why we entered Ducati like a factory supplier? Because we intentionally had a project to develop the best possible exhaust for the Panigale at that time that arrived, and that was the entry ticket that where the company is now with such partnerships.
So I've already learned that some of the insights you share make others believe in you and be better than the big ones. Now, that would also make, however, I'm assuming it'll take longer, it'll be harder, it'll take longer to get returns. How did you, I'm assuming this, how did you manage to convey this to your stakeholders, to others within your company? I'm also thinking there's probably a culture saying, no, we don't need to be better, we need to be louder, more pops and bangs, something. Yeah. Talk us through that.
It's a good question, because usually the conception was you're good. Because usually the conception was like this, you make an exhaust who is louder, that's louder and stuff like that, and it's enough. It's far away from being enough. You must withstand and satisfy all kinds of standards that are not usually even visible, or people don't understand what's behind. But in order to make this happen, you need to develop a proper system in place into the company that is actually capable of developing such projects. And one of the clearest things is that if you have an entire team on board, and when I speak about the team, my team was not 10 people, the entire team was the entire company, so 1,600 people, it's the team. It's not 5, 10. So everyone needs to be on board that they are doing something that it will be shown in the next show, and there's something that will win a race or stuff like that. And the message behind it should be as simple as possible. The communication should be as simple as possible, that they are on board, that they know why they are doing it. And it comes also to the process, how you set up those targets and those, let's say, visions that people are. So if the process is fair, even at the end, all the people will be on board, even those who might not like your vision, but they will at least understand it, because how you came to this point in time was clear. And if it's fair, then they might disagree with you, but they will be on board.
Now, and I'm seeing you nodding over there a lot, because it's something I also found intriguing. Now, I'm a die-hard motorsport fan. Now, I'm 43, and in 1987, I was 6, I moved to Estoril with my parents. This town had no significance until the first Saturday, was during the winter time, we suddenly heard this incredible sound. It sounded like barking, and it was basically engines being fired up. My parents hated it. I loved it. I love motorsport ever since. And a lot of people who don't like motorsport are not interested in it. I think it's basically about a couple of dudes, sometimes ladies, going really fast, and that's it. And then a couple of people with spanners and oil and doing stuff. Yet it's far from that. And Jost, when I look at your career and listen to interviews and podcasts that you gave, I have the feeling that you were always onboarded, or you joined teams when it was about creating an absolute immaculate team, about creating structure behind it, creating processes behind it, and taking something that may have grown organically and suddenly making it highly effective. Can you talk us through that a little bit, how that would work? First of all, if my assumption was right, and second, if so...
Yeah, I think your assumption is right. I never thought about it like this, but I prefer and I love challenges to build something up. So I don't like to take something over that is working well and then just administrate. I think that's not me and be successful. I try to get into something and build it up and then being successful. I don't know if that is harder than administrate, but that's what I enjoy. And I think it's all about creating a team. And wherever I went, I didn't have the chance to... Yeah, I went somewhere in where the team was there. I didn't build a team from scratch. I always had to take over something that worked, better, sometimes less. But then creating the team and make it the best team. And that was always the challenge, and that's what I loved. And that's where I got some hard lessons in the past, and I think from these lessons I got to where I finally ended up.
Now, if this panel were 2 hours, which I would really love, I'd say please talk us through all the lessons you learned there. But maybe what was the most important lesson you learned that still applies to your daily, let's not say life, but daily business nowadays?
Yeah, there was one lesson that really stands out. It's when I worked for Sauber Petronas Engineering and built this company up, and we developed the engine strategy for Malaysia, so for a government. And at Sauber Petronas we got the order to develop an commercial engine prototype, including Malaysian engineers to get them into automotive. They had never been in touch with automotive. We worked with Yamaha in Japan, we worked with Ricardo in the UK, and it was a team that we had the Swiss and Germans, Italians, and it didn't really work, so it was no fun. And then the CEO of Petronas came and said, "Jost, how is it going?" I said, "I don't think it will work because nobody really enjoys. And he said, "Did you do a kickoff?" Said, "No, I don't believe in that. If everybody is committed, everybody does the job, knows what to do, then it's fine. There's otherwise all a waste of time." And he said, "Look, at Petronas we do kickoff, and I want you to do a kickoff event." So then we created if the big boss says that, then you have to do it, even not believing in it. So we went into the Alps with the whole team, and after 2 days, it was the biggest fun ever. It went from 5% being good to 95% being good, and it was all about understanding the different cultures. It was about reward and punishment, how the cultures work, how to understand. And the biggest thing was that the Malaysians, and that was really open discussion, the Malaysians said, "Look, the English are really arrogant. They don't tell us anything. They think we know everything. They don't teach us, and we are just there, and they don't accept us. They don't value us." And the English said, the Malaysians, they don't ask. They believe they know everything, so they never ask. And then when we discussed the culture, it was really the losing phase in Asia, isn't it? That that the Malaysians, if they asked, they're losing face. They said, the English know that we don't know it, so why are they not telling us? And the English said, if they want to know something, why are not asking? So, and after that, even 2 days, the English guys and the others told them, knowing that they were not asking, and the other guys they can ask and ask. So then it was suddenly real fun. And it was also the Japanese there, and as everybody said, yeah, you like to work a lot, you do overtime, and how you get motivated, how is that? I said, no, we are not don't want to work more, but, at home first, we have nothing to say at home. We're not the boss at home, so we just get orders. So the flats are all small, and we don't enjoy being at home, so it's much better to be at work. This is why we are at work. And that was a really open discussion about the cultures, and that opened it really up. And since then, I always did, when I come in, I do this kind of going away, go somewhere else, have fun together, have competitions, and learn about the culture, so that the people get the personal contact, at least in the leadership team.
I love that. Just as a very quick follow-up, I also heard someone that you said it's work hard, play hard, and that you also celebrated every single victory, even when you dominated the rally scene. Every single victory you celebrated in a different way.
Yeah, I think this is, if winning becomes normal, then you will not win anymore. I think you have to remember every single huge success. And the finance director didn't like it, because it always cost money. When I said, when we lose, you will even like it less. So let's enjoy the partying and having the fun if we win. At the beginning, we thought we might win 1 or 2 rallies, but then we won 13 a year. So it was a lot of parties.
For people who are not so familiar with rally, 13 out of how many?
14.
Yeah. That was an entertaining year for the rally fans.
Yeah, and it was just the German rally we lost 2 years in a row. And that was the one the board really wanted us to win. And then, that was all these 13 wins were nothing at the board when we lost the German rally. So, and then we finished, and finally in 16 was my last rally, we finished 1, 2, 3, and then I could go to McLaren.
That's a good point to leave then. Okay. Now, Uroš, just observing you from the side, I saw you nod a lot, also when the cultural part came. I would assume taking Akrapovič and making it work with all these different companies and all these different cultures was also very much a challenge of adapting and making it work. Talk us about some of your observations there.
It's the mix of culture that we were working, it's basically, it was global, If I just look from the customer perspective, we have Germans, we have Italians, we have British people, we have Americans, we have Japanese. We have Japanese like customers, Japanese like the biggest possible supplier of the raw material. We have Chinese, we have 80 countries globally that we were servicing directly from our headquarters, plus the big companies that are on the other side. And internally also the nationalities were quite mixed, especially in the sales departments, were people from all over the world, from Malaysia to France to Belgium to Germany and so on. And I think this was also one of the biggest challenges in a team, how to adapt and how to manage these cultural discrepancies. Let's say discrepancies, but peculiarities of different people. And when I had in the, let's say, direct reports, some people from our nationalities, I have an Indian guy for purchasing, and our guys were a little bit okay, but he's Indian, he thinks differently, he knows different stuff. But at the end of the day, once we realized, when we also went somehow together out, and similar like you said, this experience of going somewhere offside, that they open up, that they see, okay, we are all on the same boat, but we have different mentalities. This opened up actually also the team, how it communicated. But I think the biggest challenge from our perspective was how to deal with different nationalities on the outside in terms of customers and suppliers. Because many people didn't get the cultural aspects maybe right, especially when it comes to, let's say, the Asian, that we don't have so much contact, like, for example, the Japanese and Chinese especially.
Is that something where you get consultants in from the outside? Is that something you learn the hard way, or boots on the ground?
I think you learn it the hard way mostly. You have to be open to learn it, to accept the other culture, to learn, of course, also something with some help. It might be needed sometimes. We also had some coaching of Japanese culture for people who were working with Japanese.
It's helpful, yeah.
It was helpful because the hierarchy there and the protocol is a completely different story, and it helped a lot.
Now there's something else, another parallel I see in the startup world to what the two of you have done and are doing is not just growing teams and transitioning teams, but also the way a leader transitions in his or her own personal role.
Yeah.
And I think both of you started off as engineers and then eventually ended up in management positions. I know you worked with the god of motoring, Paul Rocha, I believe, and then you built the E30 M3 motor, right? Or you worked on that. Until suddenly now you are become the CEO of McLaren as an example. So that's a very, very far stretch from essentially building a part in an engine to McLaren, Ron Dennis, Ron Speak and so on. Talk us about that transition.
It wasn't fast, wasn't it? It was pretty slow.
Well, was it 30 years roughly? But still, I mean, it's a progress, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I never believed that was even an option when I started or went to university. And that's where lots of people ask, what was your career plan? Did you do a career plan? I said, no, I never did a career plan. I thought opportunities come, just focus on the job you're doing, do the best possible job, do a good job, and then opportunities will come. And if I would have had a planning, I would never be in Formula 1 because I would have thought this is anyhow impossible. There's only 10 teams or 12 teams at a certain time, and to become the head of a Formula 1 team coming from the small village in Germany, having done some enduro and motocross, it's just a no-go. And I would never have thought about it. And then finally ending up running McLaren and Williams as a German, that's pretty unique. And I think that you develop from job to job, and I was in very different cultures. So, in BMW Motorsport, you have a certain culture. It's very performance orientated, and you mentioned Paul Rocha. That was driving me to work in Automotive. I wanted to work with Paul Rocha because I was interested in engines, and he was the engine guru. So I wanted to work with him, and I finally achieved that. But that was a hard push during university to achieve that. And then from there, being in BMW, working on engines, then going to Porsche, working with people like Wiedeking and Porsche, and then going to Sauber, working with the smaller and the team like Peter Sauber, and working with the Malaysians, doing a complete different culture. Yeah, and then from there going to Ford, that is an American company, and working in Europe, and then working in the US. So you get the various different cultures, and I think that you appreciate and learn what is the good and the bad of the various cultures, and if you can combine it, then it makes you global thinking, and then you are not that narrow-minded that if you are just in one country or in one company all the time. Doesn't mean that it's bad to stay long in one company. There are successful people there, but it was not me.
So I have to ask, when are you joining Audi as CEO of Formula 1?
Never.
Never?
No.
You would be perfect for that, wouldn't you?
No. I'm happy now that I retired. And supporting some startups, what really gives me the fun to run a company, to be every day with HR issues, with finance issues, with all. At Williams it's 800 people, so it's not a small company, and you have daily. And if you run a race team, it's 365 days a year. It's not just the 5 days or 4 day week that is discussed. Everyone needs 4 day weeks. You're 7 day week. And this is with no break, no Christmas, nothing. And now I enjoy giving the value and what from my experience giving to startups, and that where I believe I can add the real value.
And that's something I find quite peculiar, because that's why you're here, because the two of you have had these incredible careers, you've done so much, yet now both of you are aligned and having tremendous interest in startups. You just kind of gave us a bit of a tidbit, but Uros, what's the fascination for you? And what is it you are specifically looking for? Because both of you are going to be around as well tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So what is it that's going to interest you and excite you, and what is it you have to offer?
To be honest, why I also started in thinking about startups was because I think it gives the energy of this early ideas, this early power that people have they want to change the world in a way or another. Yeah. And this is something that in big companies, it comes to a certain point in time that is usually then missing. Or at a certain point in time, certain big companies need to reinvent somehow themselves that they get this sparkle back. And also this is something that I'm right now working with companies that they need to have the sparkle, let's say, back, and to realign the team, that they will start to rethink again, more like a startup, like instead of a big corporation or a company that has been run in the same manner for the last 20 or 30 or 40 years. And that's why I love working with startups, because it's still this motivation, but what I see is that usually it's a lacking of how to do things, because there is no experience behind. And those experience that actually we have, it's something that we might give them a certain shortcut to reach a certain point quicker and easier, because we broke our legs sometimes and arms and stuff like that in the past that took us to a certain point, and this is...
And is there a specific vertical or phase you'd be specifically interested in?
For me, it's honestly different, all kind of phases. Or it's a startup that is at the beginning, or it's a scale-up already doing something, but they need this extra step, because with what I'm working now, I have all these different kinds of startups. Someone who is really at the beginning, or someone who already has a lot of funding, and they just now need to scale it up to the first, let's say, product batches. So there are challenges on all levels, but the experience can support all different kind of stages, and this is actually I'm also offering to startups to be helpful to them to ease the process of making the next steps.
Sounds promising. Jost, who should approach you, and what are you looking for?
Yeah, I think at the moment I have enough, but always open to really nice opportunities that I would enjoy. I believe that the spirit of startups is very close to the spirit you find in racing. Mm. Yeah, sure. So it's a small team, they have the enthusiasm, but then you have to keep the enthusiasm and not, you have fallbacks, but not getting the enthusiasm destroyed with fallbacks. I think that's where I can help, because in motorsport or in racing you have more bad days than good days. So that, I think it's for startups very much the same, and you have to work through that to be finally successful. Where I can help, I think it's once with my address book and the contacts I have, where I've seen that startups have issues to get meetings with big companies where they have relevant technology or something. And there I can really help to get these meetings started, because if you have quite a good reputation in the automotive, especially in the automotive industry and supply industry, if you talk to the CEOs or to the management, they think, okay, he's not talking bullshit. If he says it's interesting, we will listen. And that opens the doors for startups that might not have a chance, because there's so many startups approaching the big companies every day, and they can get fed up with it, but then you need somebody credible to get in touch, and then it works. I'm interested in certain areas. Got one company is an AI company that works also in motorsport and does voice to text for Formula 1 teams, for the FIM, for FIA, for others. So it's just growing, and it's really good, and it's developing, and it's learning. And another is safety, so it's boxes for safely charging lithium batteries. I think I'm interested in safety. If you can save some lives with that, then you've got something really, really good and valuable added to community. And the other one is an autonomous delivery vehicle, as I believe the autonomous cars will come, especially in logistics. I hope only in logistics, because I like driving, so...
So we can see you're heavily invested in that space, and I mean, there is a certain focus to be seen. Gentlemen, I'd love to have that conversation for another 2 hours at least, but time's up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and wrap this up and summarize it, and the two of you, by nodding, say, yeah, you got it right, or by going, I got it wrong. So no pressure on me. The last 30 minutes, we learned that it's all about making people believe in you. If you are going in it, you are going in it to win it. You need to withstand the standards, you need to withstand also the low-hanging opportunities, and need to aim high. It's all about having simple messages, conveying why we need to do things, and having a very strong and aligned motivation. You said you enjoyed it very much, going into something and building it up, making it more effective and making it better, creating teams and making teams strong. Without a kickoff, there is no winning, and winning should never become the standard. We also understood that at the end of the day, you don't need to have a career plan. You just need to follow your guts, do it, and enjoy. And what I find so intriguing is you're just getting started in the startup world. And there's about 1,000 people at this conference, and I'm quite curious how the pitching is going to go. In that sense, you happy with that summary?
Good.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
You happy? Good. That's the part where you applaud. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It was a pleasure.